Hi, it's Daniel Murphy, and I want to talk to you today about reduction pruning. Here's an oak tree that I pruned last year. There's the before picture, and there's the after. Now here's the before picture again, and notice circled in red is a little spruce tree on the neighbor's property across the street. One of the challenges of illustrating pruning practices in video is to try to take this large tree, 80-foot tree, and have you get a sense of it on a two-dimensional screen. So focus on the spruce tree across the street, and here it is again in the after picture. You can see the spruce tree. We have a much better view of it because the oak tree, the sides of it have been taken in. Now I didn't take anything at all off the top of this oak. I just brought the sides in, and actually if you look over the street here, I elevated it for clearance for traffic as well, but I didn't elevate the side facing the camera here, the western facing side of the tree. I tried to do the best job I could in Photoshop aligning these two pictures up and making the tree the same height in both of them, but it's a little difficult to tell because they're not perfectly centered on screen there. But again, if you look at the spruce tree, you can see how much the sides were brought in on this tree. Okay, hi, I'm Daniel Murphy. You see that sun in my eyes? Well, that's western sun. It's about an hour and a half before sundown right now, and you can see we're around the equinox in September. You can see where that western light is coming into the trunk of this tree. Now, my client asked me to prune this tree. He wanted to get it raised, and he wanted more clearance from the street, which is fair enough. It was a little low over the street. But I told him, and rightly so, look, all these branches, these lower branches on the western side here, are protecting that tree, the trunk and the root system, from overheating in the summertime. That tree just can't go inside and get a cold glass of water. Oftentimes, you know, trees when they're elevated, people think that's, you know, well, how am I going to prune a tree? I'm just going to elevate and I'm going to take all the interior, the growth out of it. Well, that's exactly the opposite of what I do. I try to avoid elevation because those lower branches do a lot to shade the root system. This branch here, I will elevate this branch, and I might take it, I could take it here or there, you know, but in any case, I don't mind bringing that branch up because there's west, there's east, and there's south. So this is on the north side of the tree. It's really not providing any significant shade for the trunk or the root system. So we want to keep the shade on the root system, and then I like to leave all the interior limbs as well, all those little water sprouts, and I mean, they're there for a reason. They're helping the tree produce more energy, and they shade the trunk as well. So how do we prune a tree like that? Well, if you have a 75-foot bucket truck, you go up and take a little weight off the branch tips. I mean, this tree has been completely pruned. There's maybe one or two little dead branches on the other side we got to get. But I was on it from two sides with the 75-foot bucket, and we've gotten it elevated a little bit over the street without making big cuts, just taking the end of the branches off and the lower section of the branches off. So no big cuts on the trunk at all. No interior cuts except for deadwood. And just tipping back these long branches that are reaching for the light, giving the tree a nice natural looking shape without taking too much leafy material from the tree. Remember, the leaves of that tree are how it makes its living. You're not doing a tree any favors by taking a lot of leaves off a tree. Every cut's got to be there for a reason. And I know for everybody, you know, we're in business, right? So the reason is to get paid, but beyond getting paid, let's not hurt the tree. Let's do what's good for the tree. In a situation like this, it's got full light in four directions, so it's going to have a tendency to reach for the sun and to outgrow its ability to hold itself up. So right now, I'd put any ice storm on this tree right now after I just pruned it like this with minimal damage because I took the weight off the branch tips. And let's go take a look at some of the cuts I made. There's one fairly sizable one here. That's a pretty significant, you know, branch tip there, but it's under 2 inches. Take a look at this one here. So, you know, that's 2 inches the one way. It might be a little bit bigger the other way. I think this one was over the street. Now that's a rare cut for me to make. That's good 3 inches there. It's chipped up now, but I mean, it's that size cut and then a bunch of little handsaw cuts too. We elevated quite a few of these branches here over the street. Let's take a look here. There's that big cut. There's another cut. There's another cut. Prune well, reduction pruning. They don't teach it. It's not in the books. I mean, they actually poo-poo it. And it's strange because it's really the best thing you can do for many trees in suburban situations. And a lot of what we've been doing for years, you know, going in there, making big cuts on the trunk, taking some weight off the interior, thinning the tree out. Like, what good does thinning the tree do? It doesn't do the tree any good. One of the most important things you can take away from this example is the importance of leaving those lower branches on the western and southern sides in a tree like this that has full exposure to the sun. Trees evolve to grow in a wooded situation where there's high competition for light and they're always surrounded by other trees. So it's an unnatural situation to put a tree in a suburban front yard with no other trees around it. That's why we have to be extremely careful and educate ourselves, our crew, our clients about the dangers of over elevating a tree, especially on the western side, where on hot summer days that late afternoon sun can be extremely harsh if it's hitting the trunk directly. So once I explained that to my client, he was quite happy with this finished product. You can see that the trunk still has shade on it. It's late afternoon. See that western sun just beating down on the side of the garage, but not on the trunk of this tree. You won't hear anything about this in the ANSI standards, which is a bit of a shortcoming, not necessarily so for the rest of the world. The English pruning standards, for example, call for specifications to clarify the location, north, south, east, and west, that the pruning is to be done in. So that's something ANSI's running a little late on. Hopefully they'll get it right sooner than later. Daniel Murphy, thanks for watching. Have a great day.